This is an article from the Inner Herald we found in the public domain, public access. No copyright infringement was intentional, and it's titled "That's BruceSploitation." When Enter the Dragon 1973 grossed over 100 million worldwide, the Hong Kong film industry had reason to celebrate. Hampered for years by low production values and bad scripts, Hong Kong had finally found a potential ticket to international box office success: Bruce Lee. D-list Hollywood actor and martial artist who returned home to find fame and fortune had become the colony's biggest box office attraction with 3 martial arts hits, and was finally on the verge of becoming the only international Asian superstar. This continues to say, too bad that Lee had just 1 month before Enter the Dragon was released. A regrettable career move by any standard. But you can't keep a good man down, and with increasing demand from foreign markets for kung fu products, Hong Kong movie producers, both high and low profile, began looking for any Chinese guy who could throw a few punches to become the next Bruce Lee. Actors with pseudonyms like Bruce Lai, Bruce Low, Bruce La, Lee, La, Lu, Lao, Dragon Lee, Bronson Lee, Bruce Chin, Bruce Lai, Bruce Lau and Bruce Tai were thrown into Z-grade chop socky epics that shamelessly mimicked the small filmography of the late great martial arts master Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee, that's L-I-S, Bruce Lee's magnum fist, the blind fist of Bruce Lee, etc. The Supermen, Enter 3 Dragons, Return of Fist of Fury, Into the Game of Death, Dragon Lee as the 5 brothers, and so forth. Just to say something like Bruce Lee versus Gay Power, with just a few of the films unleashed upon an unsuspecting public. Most of these films are now in public domain and widely available on DVD, usually with a picture of the real Bruce Lee on the box to trick gullible consumers. These films and dozens of others spawned the BruceSploitation movement, one of the strangest and most enduring of all exploitation subgenres. The first BruceSploitation movies were wildly inaccurate Bruce Lee biographies, whose script were based mostly from hearsay and tabloid newspaper articles, concentrating on the more lurid aspects of Lee's life. The earliest known BruceSploitation movie, Bruce Lee, A Dragon Story, 1974, focused on Lee's alleged affair with bit part actress Betty Ting-Pei. Is that the Bruce Lee story, Bruce Lee's last days? Had a silver cover on the video, perhaps. But Bruce Lee and I, also known as The Sex Life of Bruce Lee, 1975, trumped that film by actually starring Betty Ting-Pei. I thought she was on Bruce Lee's last days. Bruce Lee, the Man, the Myth, 1976, was a much more chaste affair and is well regarded in some circles for having been shot on three continents. Well, it's nice to see Bruce Lee, L-I, actually fighting at the Roman Colosseum instead of a cardboard cutout, but it's clear the filmmakers never applied for filming permits, judging by the awkward scenes of characters standing outside the 20th Century Fox gates. Every scrap of Bruce Lee footage was exploited. Episodes of The Green Hornet, a campy 60s show in which Lee played a sidekick, were edited into feature films with titles like Fury of the Dragon, 1976, Fist of Fear, Touch of Death, 1980, took footage from one of Lee's teenage movies and redubbed the soundtrack to turn it into a questionable Lee biography. A few scenes from Lee's action-free childhood movies. were stitched into the real Bruce Lee, which was marked as an Enter the Dragon style fight fest. Game of Death 1978, the most widely seen BruceSploitation film, was allegedly based on a film that Lee was shooting at the time of his death, but director Robert Klaus discarded all but 11 minutes of Lee's footage and fabricated a new story about a martial arts actor who runs afoul of gangsters. Aside from one fight scene, the role credited to Bruce Lee was played entirely by stand-ins disguised under big sunglasses. The film, which is inexplicably included in Fox's official Bruce Lee DVD collection, hits its low point when it incorporates actual stock footage from Lee's funeral into the plot. This writer wondered what crossed Robert Klaus's mind when he chose to use a close-up of Lee's corpse. Being a Bruce Lee clone must have been a pretty thankless task. The writer doubted that anyone went to a Bruce Lee Thai movie because Bruce Thai was in it. Jackie Chan, whose first starring role was in the regrettable New Fist of Fury 1976, managed to escape the BruceSploitation ghetto by subverting its conventions in his kung fu comedies. Some less talented clones, especially Dragon Lee and Bruce Lee, were evidently content to continue greasing their abs and thumbing their nose well into the 90s. Lee managed to parlay his minor celebrity into a directional career, helming the well-reviewed soft porn movie Comfort Woman and the not terrible late-period BruceSploitation saga Ninja Over the Great War. But inevitably others grew restless living under Lee's shadow. Poor Ho Chung Dao was lured into the movie industry when his resemblance to Lee gave him a chance to star in a string of low-budget movies. Unscrupulously, producers changed his name to Bruce Lee, L-I, and Ho reluctantly played along, hoping BruceSploitation would be a stepping stone to mainstream stardom. Unfortunately, Bruce Lee stuck, and producers would always renegade on promises to publicise Ho's real name. Storming Attacks 1978, a thriller that was meant to steer Ho away from BruceSploitation, was instead released under the nonsensical title The Image of Bruce Lee, with Bruce Lee credited as the star. The Image of Bruce Lee was one of many BruceSploitation films that were bald-faced scams, evoking Bruce Lee in the marketing but not in the actual movie. No scam was more bald-faced than Bruce Lee Fights Back from the Grave 1976, originally titled American Bang Mung Gaig. This run-of-the-mill movie starred Chun Chong as a Korean martial artist master who travels to Los Angeles to find his best friend dead. Bumming around LA, he eventually uncovers a crime world conspiracy. Aquarius, releasing a grindhouse distributor specializing in kung fu movies, acquired The Stranger from Korea for its American release, and tackled on a 30-second prologue in which lightning strikes the grave of Bruce Lee and an actor playing Lee jumps and rises from the ground. Apart from the title and the bizarre opening sequence, the rest of the film was completely unchanged. Nevertheless, Aquarius' 2-minute theatrical trailer announced that the plot involved Bruce Lee rising from the grave to fight the Black Angel of Death. The writer had a chance to speak with Chun Chong a few years ago from his Tae Kwon Do school in Los Angeles. Chong was credited in the Aquarius version as Bruce K. Lea, L-E-A. Oh, the writer wasn't happy about that because I'm Chun Chong. Okay, he said he wasn't happy about that because he was Chun Chong. He said he tried to sue them, but you know, it's tough to sue people. Chong said that he couldn't remember much about filming this minor classic, but admitted it could have been better if it had more bigger construction and production. Chong still occasionally dabbles in acting, most recently in his direct to at the time video opus called Maximum Cage Fighting 2006, which scores 1.8 out of 10 on IMDb's user poll. BLF-BFTG, by contrast, rates 2.7. Bruce Lee fights back from the grave. Most BruceSploitation movies are too dull to have much fun with, but the sub-genre hit in zenith with two amazing movies that defy any type of common sense explanation. The Clones of Bruce Lee, 1977, and The Dragon Lives Again, 1977, are quite simply two of the most astonishing films ever made, and this writer is surprised that they haven't developed larger cult followings. The Clones of Bruce Lee begins with Bruce Lee being rushed into the emergency room, declared dead on arrival. The world goes into mourning, and the producers pad the running time with some of that infamous funeral footage, but a British scientist has used Bruce Lee's DNA to create three clones, played by Dragon Lee, Bruce Lee, and Bruce Lee, a group of actors all who look kinda sorta like Bruce Lee but not much like each other. Colin puts him to work in the film industry, eventually planning to have them kill each other on camera. His plot fails, but not before we get to see the long-awaited Bruce Lee Dragon Lee fight scene. The Clones of Bruce Lee eventually loses interest in the staggering implications of its premise and becomes a standard fight movie. Everyone seems to take the idea of human cloning pretty nonchalantly, not least the clones themselves. Still, it's weird fun, not least for the 5-minute interlude where the clones find themselves on the beach watching a half-dozen completely naked women play volleyball. This section doesn't advance the plot, but the writer's not the one that's going to complain. The Dragon Lives Again is even better. The plot after his death, Bruce Lee Lung Xiaolong, credited as Bruce Leong, finds himself in the underworld, a purgatory ruled over by a tyrannical emperor. All is not well. A coup is being hatched by a bevy of pop culture icons. Including James Bond, Dracula, The Godfather, The Exorcist, Emmanuel, Clint Eastwood, and Satoichi. Copyrights be damned. Bruce rubs these guys the wrong way but quickly finds an ally in Popeye. The film's production values are as bad as any other BruceSploitation movie, but it has a goofy comic charm that elevates it above typical Z-grade fare. This is one of the rare BruceSploitation films where the makers seem to be in on the joke. It's a real cut-rate miss in scenes and sly sense of humour give it an otherworldly quality. Who was behind this masterpiece? Director Law Kay is clearly one of the unsung geniuses of exploitation cinema, and this particular author, Will Sloan, was happy to report that he's still active in the BruceSploitation business. According to IMDb, his most recent film was a Fist of Fury remake called Juvenile Chen Shen, 2004. The writer's dead serious when he says that it's time for a critical re-evaluation of his oeuvre, O-E-U-V-R-E. Maybe that's supposed to be like maneuver, something around that. Not too sure what that is. Come on, Cinematheque Ontario, give the Fassbinders and the Antonionis a rest and let Law K have a retrospective. Incidentally, Alexander Grand, who played James Bond, has all but disappeared, but the author, this writer, suspects he spends his time in the bars of Hong Kong, loudly proclaiming to anyone with earshot that he, not Sean Connery or Daniel Craig, was the definitive 007. BruceSploitation faded in the early 80s, but in the world of low budget and straight to video martial arts cinema, it has never completely died. In fact, the movement looks poised for a comeback. In 2006, director Rob Cohen announced that he was planning to resurrect Bruce Lee using digital effects for a new action movie called Rage and Fury. Press releases claimed it would be the first time an actor would be digitally revived for a leading role. and promised that it would have been marketed as an all-new, honest-to-God Bruce Lee movie. While disagreements between Cohen and Lee's estate had been stalled, Rage and Fury for the time being, the abandoned film suggested a simultaneously enticing and disturbing new chapter of BruceSploitation. Could there be any better Bruce Lee clone than Bruce Lee himself? And that was by the writer Will Sloan. If you enjoyed this particular video, then you know what to do. Give us a like, subscribe to our channel, add your comments below, and we'll get back to you on those as soon as we can. And then go share this video and all our other videos from our channel with everybody you know, family, friends, neighbours, etc. Thank you for taking the time to watch this, our latest video created and uploaded for you.